What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and today we'll be getting back on the Sneaky Boy bandwagon. More specifically, we'll be talking about a couple legendaries Outlaw has in its potential toolkit that kinda sorta do the same thing. Today, we'll be talking about Concealed Blunderbuss and Greenskin's Wickers. Okay, so for those of you who weren't aware of the legendaries currently available to Outlaw on the Shadowlands beta, I highly recommend checking out the legendary videos that I've put up in the last couple weeks where they were first announced. I'll leave a link to one of them up top on the screen here, so that way you can peruse through all three specs for the various legendary effects that we will be able to choose from. The two we'll be talking about specifically today are ones that buff the most piratist move left in our toolkit, Pistol Shot. Two popular and potent effects from Legion are returning. First, I'll introduce the Concealed Blunderbuss legendary. When Saber Slash strikes an additional time, there is a 33% chance that your next pistol shot will fire 3 additional times. Obviously, this is a typo since this was a carried over effect from the Legion artifact weapon and it means Sinister Strike. Basically, it's a proc within a proc, as you have to have your Sinister Strike trigger an additional hit, and then there is a chance that your opportunity proc will add on the proc of Concealed Blunderbuss. However, unlike the Legion variant of this ability, the pistol shot hits are a series of hits, not a bunch of them hitting all at the exact same time, like a blunderbuss would do, and instead it's more like an automatic flintlock. Anyways, for a little while in beta, this legendary was actually making you use energy for all 3 of the extra pistol shot casts, and if you ran out of energy at any time, it would just stop doing anything. Kind of a silly goof, but that has been fixed, and now this legendary is working so that only the initial cast of Pistol Shot is costing energy, like it's supposed to. Our other pistol-oriented alternative is Greenskin's Wickers. Between the Eyes has a 20% chance per combo point to make your next pistol shot deal 200% more damage. This was the popular and highly desirable legendary effect from Legion. In fact, it was popular enough that if you played during Battle for Azeroth, you might notice this is the exact same idea as the Deadshot Azerite trait. Due to this, this legendary will be a nice and simple transition into Shadowlands for those who have been playing Outlaw in either Legion or Battle for Azeroth, which gives the rotation a bit more familiarity. So how will these legendaries interact with our toolkits as Outlaw Rogues? Concealed Blunderbuss is an interesting legendary because of the way it interacts with our passive Opportunity, our talent Quick Draw, and the new conduit Triple Threat. The Opportunity proc is what makes Pistol Shot cost half energy and deal double damage. So when this legendary procs, you're spending 20 energy for 4 pistol shots, with one doing double damage, not all 4 doing double, unfortunately. This same effect also happens when running Quick Draw, as you will instead only gain the bonus damage on the primary hit of Pistol Shot, as each one of the pistol shots are technically individual hits of the move. Which is honestly a shame because that weakens this legendary considerably, especially comparing it to the original design of this in Legion, which would have benefited entirely from Quick Draw and Opportunity for every hit and not just the first one that comes out of the gun. Greenskin's Wickers, on the other hand, keeps things very simple. You use 5 combo points on Between the Eyes. Boom, your next pistol shot does 200% more damage. Done. Buffing this further with the Quick Draw talent results in some exceptionally hard-hitting pistol shots, much like we're used to seeing in Battle for Azeroth. The downside to this legendary is that Between the Eyes is on a much longer cooldown now, due to it being changed from just a stun ability to a crit chance debuff and supposedly crit damage debuff. However, that still hasn't been implemented yet despite the tooltip saying it should be. So here are some interesting things I've found out so far in my testing. The Concealed Blunderbuss legendary works off of Sinister Strike procs. So the Triple Threat conduit I mentioned in my other videos, the one that can make Sinister Strike procs trigger more Sinister Strike procs, does work in conjunction with this legendary. So you can potentially get more chances at the Blunderbuss procs from this, and from running Weapon Master instead of Quick Draw. Since Quick Draw and Opportunity's bonus damage is only affecting the first hit of the Blunderbuss proc, this results in bringing the first shot from hitting around 360-ish damage on my current character to about 900. However, the remaining pistol shot hits are the same amount of damage as they would normally be. This build generates a sizable amount of combo points though, since every hit from the Blunderbuss proc is giving combo points. So, between the Sinister Strike chains and the Blunderbuss procs, this setup puts out a lot of combo points, so it's pretty fun. In comparison, Greenskin's Wickers is heavily fueled by opportunity procs and the quick draw talent, so you basically only want to use this legendary effect if your opportunity buff is active. The downside to this rendition of the legendary, however, is the 45-second cooldown that has been applied to Between the Eyes, which is 50% more than Battle for Azeroth's version of 30 seconds. This is a bit of a letdown. However, even with this longer cooldown, this legendary does a very respectable amount of damage, as long as it's used correctly. It requires slightly better planning than the Concealed Blunderbuss, but the bright side is that due to the debuff applied through Between the Eyes, it is more likely to cause a huge crit of damage on a hard-hitting pistol shot. So the question is, which one is actually better? At least in terms of damage. Well, the answer might surprise you, and it is a little complicated. On one hand, you have a talent and legendary combination that flows pretty well with the triple threat conduit and doesn't rely on much other than you just doing your rotation and making sure you use blunderbuss procs when you're at low combo points, since it'll basically fill up your whole combo point bar every time, which is honestly a very satisfying feeling. However, this is technically a bit more RNG since you're counting on a proc within a proc. As the triple threat conduit is ranked up in the future though, this should reduce the RNG of the build and make the effect trigger more often, which will improve its damage. On the other hand, you have a very tried and true, consistent build that's basically been around for 2 expansions. All it requires is lining up your procs a little more and results in a lot of damage in one big hit. However, performing this incorrectly will result in a lot lower damage, as without the quick draw talent stacked with an opportunity proc, this move will not do nearly as much damage as it potentially can. So here's the thing. In the literal dozens of target dummy pulls that I did switching between the two, honestly their damage wasn't that far off. However, their priority for which buffs you want from Roll the Bones, I imagine, will be very different. For instance, Skull and Crossbones is much more useful for the Concealed Blunderbuss legendary, as you're greatly increasing the likelihood for it to proc. However, True Bearing becomes a potent option for Greenskin's Wickers, as you're shaving off more time of the cooldown of Between the Eyes, resulting in more casts of it and using the legendary more often. I will say between the two, Greenskins will probably be the more viable option in terms of performance, mainly because it plays into a rotation most Outlaw Rogues are probably very used to at this point. That, and I'm still not entirely certain about the way the triple threat conduit is working. If it's meant to proc off of itself, then it will be a very strong conduit and could potentially make Concealed Blunderbuss the better choice, since Triple Threat can trigger the Concealed Blunderbuss legendary. If that isn't intentional, then it will still be a strong option, though Greenskins will probably outshine it for its simplicity and lack of RNG. That, and as we get further in the expansion and we can burn through combo points faster, inherently we'll be using Between the Eyes more often, which results in more effectiveness of this legendary. Either way, these were two very entertaining legendaries to compare against each other, as that isn't a common thing to see. Having two legendaries that give a similar result, i.e. increasing the amount of throughput you get from pistol shot, but attaining it through somewhat different means. One thing to please keep in mind though, this is all still beta, so this is just experimenting and seeing what happens with certain talents and certain legendary combinations, so this might get buffed or nerfed or changed before you even see it on live. Just as a forewarning. In any case, I'll be sending this data over to the theory crafting folks to see what they can make of it, and hopefully it'll answer some of these questions for both of the legendaries. I hope you all liked the video. If so, you might want to take a look at the rest of my channel. I do new uploads every weekday covering a variety of rogue and non-rogue content, though for class stuff, it's pretty much all rogue all the time. And today, we have another generous watcher of the channel joining the Super Shiba Squad tier of the Patreon. A big welcome and thank you to Kebe, whom I sincerely hope I haven't butchered the pronunciation of your name, despite talking to you about this prior to putting it in the video. Sorry if I did. Whoopsie. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.